Hi everyone, my name is Alger and this is my final project calculator and this is my code explanation video. So up here are the Khan Academy button class that give button object, constructor, draw, handle the clicks, see if the mouse inside and check those. And here are the variables I use for this project. So here's the variable for number 1, number 2. So this is number 1 and then doing operation that's number 2. And I use them as strings so I can add numbers as actual behind it instead of adding to it. The result variable is when these two numbers gets added, subtracted. Whenever they do operations together, that's a result where it will store a result. Operation shows which operation is on. You can see in the comments that each number means different. 0 is blank, anything above 1 means the number on the screen is the second number. 1 is addition, 2 is subtraction, 3 is multiplication, 4 is division, and 5 is equal. This array stores numbers corresponding to these 4 buttons. Store 4 numbers in the array for future use. Buttons array, this is where I store all the buttons, and that's where I store all the labels for the buttons for the button size array. Setting mode, 1 means it's on, 0 means it's off. It's a counter I use to set tax rate, tip rate, and storing the numbers. And tax rate and tip rate is self-explanatory, each with its individual uses. So over here is a nested loop that I use to create all the button objects. There's a total of 25 each with different x's and y's, and 5 of them will have the same y and 5 of them will have the same x's. That's why I use a nested loop, change the x and y's, while there's a row of 5 and a column of 5. And I push them into the buttons array that I previously mentioned. So it's all, I don't have to go through each individual one by one. And also use the loop for their mouse click function, so I don't have to go through them one by one. So over here is the first button 0 over here. Depends on the operation. It will add 0 to either set it to 0 or add 0 to the end of the number. And depends on the operation, it will add it to 1 or 2. So blank means 1 in the state, and any other operation will set it to add it to number 2. And this applies to all the number buttons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have a label with the comments here. And then the next button is the decimal. So it depends on the operation, as I previously mentioned. It will add it to either number 1 or number 2, and depends on if there's a decimal here, it will either add it or not. If there's no decimal, it will add 1 when you click it. If there is decimal, it will do nothing. And then over here is negative and positive button. So also depends on the operation, and depends on if there's a negative or not. If the operation is greater than 0, it will do it to number 2. If it's not, it will do it to number 1. And if there's already negative, it will set it to positive. If it's not negative, it will add a negative to it. And over here is the third button, equal. That's the most special one and does the most work. So it depends on the operation mode, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It will either do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And first I convert the string to a decimal, so I can do the operation for decimals and negatives and etc. And it will set the operation to 5, so in equal mode, and set number 1 and 2 back to 0 as a string. And over here, the fourth button, storing, depends on the operation and the setting mode. If it's on, it will set this number and store a number here. If it's off, then it will use this number and set either number 1 or 2, depends on the operation. And over here, 1, 2, 3, same thing as the 0 button. Divide, same thing. And divide is a different one, depends on the operation. If it's 5 currently, that means the number on the screen is the result. It will set the result as a first number here, and then whatever you input is second number to do the operation with. And it will set the operation to 4 so that this code knows that we're doing a division for these two numbers. And here it's the same as store number 4, store number just at a different spot. And 4, 5, 6, same thing as 1, 2, 3, and 0, just different number labels. Multiply, same thing as division, just different signs and different operation. 2, same thing as 3 and 4, 7, 8, 9, same thing. Subtraction, store number 1, all of these are same. There are a lot of repeating buttons, just have different labels and slightly different functions, but mostly same. That's why I used a for loop a nested for loop to create all of those because they have a lot of similar functions. And I try to use like this dot label function so I can copy and paste with all these buttons function while with slightly different functionality and labels. And over here is the tip button, which calculates the tip. And if setting mode is on, it will actually set the tip. Depends on the operation. You'll pick a number, either number 1 or the result, to set the tip. And when the setting mode is off, it will use it to calculate the tip. Depends on the first number. Also, for all the operation I do with this calculator, it will change all the number 1s and 2s to decimal first, and then store the result as as a decimal, and then use the text function to set it out. And this sets the setting mode to 1 or 0. 1 means it's on, I can change tip, tax, all these functions. 0 means it's off, so it's a counter. And click it while it's off, it'll turn it on, and when it's on, it'll turn it off and change whatever number here, which is usually number 1 to 0. The tax button, same thing as tip, just different name. So you can do tip and tax differently. There's an add button, same thing as all the other operators. And the clear button clears the number 1 or number 2, depends on the operation you have. So if this operation is not 0, then it's number 2 up here, clear that. And if you click clear again, it'll clear number 1 as well. And down here is the draw function. So I set the background, I draw the buttons with a for loop, I change the color of the text, and depends on the setting mode, it will say on and off here. And I do a few text function to show these 3 tooltip up here. And then depends on the operation mode it will show number 1 or number 2 here. And depends on whatever operation mode you input, it will show number 1 with whatever operation after it. So like this over here, 5 times, that set it to 3 and show the times. And if it's 0, it will show number 1 here like this. And if it's above 0, it will show number 2 over here. And if it equals 5, it will show the result over here. And that's the overall for my project's code. Thank you.